What statistically improbable thing happened to you? Took a summertime organic chemistry class. 1 month of classes 5 days a week, then a 3-week break, then another month for the second semester. After the break, I reached into the box in my closet to grab the textbook where I had hidden it and felt a sharp stab in the corner of my little finger at the cuticle of the nail bed. I was running late to class, so I thought nothing of it. I became ill with profuse sweating and nausea during the day, then violently ill into the night with vomiting and diarrhea and swollen adenoids. Went to the ER the next morning and they ran every test they could. 2 days later, I started having trouble breathing and went to the ER again. My heart was swollen up half again at normal size. My lungs were swollen, and my kidneys too. Doctors kept me for 2 days with batteries of tests, and after 2 days let me go as everything was going back to normal. Then I began shitting what appeared to be a white paste, and this went on for 2 days, at the end of which I noticed that my tongue and the lining of my mouth was almost purple in color, and I had a red streak from the tip of my little finger that during the day extended up to my bicep. By that evening, went back to the ER and the doctor said he had no clue, but maybe I had been bitten by something venomous. I then thought about the day that the symptoms started and went to that box in my closet, and sure enough there was a little black spider in the box. I asked one of my professors about it and he told me the county health department had an entomology office not far from campus, so I captured the little spider and went on over. The doctor there told me it was just a grass spider and there was absolutely no way it could have envenomated me for 3 reasons. He said they have curved mandibles so they can't hit the human skin. They have soft mandibles, so even when they manage to strike the skin, the mandible will turn and not break the surface. But most importantly, their venom, which digests the proteins that stretch between the cell walls of animals, gets bound to platelets in the human bloodstream and is almost instantly neutralized. I showed him where the bite was as evidenced by the red streak, and sure enough it was in the corner of the nail bed and very soft tissue of the cuticle where the spider could actually get a strike. He asked if I had some kind of platelets disorder. I made a quick call to the cancer research hospital I worked at in the evenings at that time, and sure enough I had donated platelets the evening before being bitten. A process where they put you on a platelet phoresis machine and extract almost all of your platelets for donation to kids who are in need of them due to having low counts from the chemotherapy. It was at this point that the entomologist started hyperventilating and asking all kinds of questions. He was low-key freaking out. He kept repeating that this was a billion to 1 event and he'd never heard of it before. He ended up getting me to sign some papers so he could have my medical records and published a paper on it. Fun for him, but not so much for me. The white paste that I pooped for 3 days was the epithelial lining of my entire digestive tract, which came out as white pasty-looking individual cells. By the end of the month, everything was back to normal like none of it had ever happened. Interesting side note, when some spiders inject their victims and turn them into liquid that they can then drink, this venom dissolves the proteins that hold cells together by running between the cell walls. These proteins are the only things binding the cells together. Without these proteins, we would be reduced to a nasty white, almost liquidy paste. Edit. As it has been asked many times in the comments, I do not possess a copy or link to the paper the entomologist wrote, nor do I remember which journal it was in. This happened in the early 90s and may have never even been out on the internet. Also, I don't know if that journal even still exists. Can't be that many people reading journals on entomology. Also, he was a PhD in entomology and not a medical doctor, so it wasn't in a medical journal. This is probably the wildest story in this whole thread. My goodness. Glad you recovered pretty quickly, all things considered. And I made an on that semester too. I had a lot of bedtime to read while I was down. Lol. On the negative side though, I am no mortally afraid of spiders, as I was sent to the ER 3 times and almost died due to one of the most harmless spiders there is. Riding my bicycle on a commercial fishing pier as a kid, I lost control and rode off the edge with a 20 drop to exposed rocks at low tide. I tried to stop myself going over by planting my feet on the edge of the pier, but I knew my bike was too heavy. Somehow the bike stopped halfway over at a 45-degree angle. However, now the seat was in the small of my back, preventing me from getting off. and I couldn't budget at all to get the bike back up. A fisherman finally ran over to help me, and we decided he would pull me as hard as he could and I'd let the bike fall. I jumped to the side as he pulled me back to the pier, and it worked. However, my bike was still there, not moving at all. When I examined what had happened, there was a piece of rebar sticking out from the edge of the pier, bent upwards in an L shape, and it passed diagonally through the spokes of my front tire and completely wedged my bike in place. It was the only spot on the 300-long pier with anything sticking out. I most certainly did not stop myself and my bike from going over. I received my heart transplant after being on the list for only 7 hours. I had a friend of a friend in New York who needed an organ transplant. The doctor evidently told her, "You'll be waiting for a year here. Go to Florida. They have no helmet laws and year-round sun." She moved down and had a new liver in a few weeks. Dropped a glass while washing just six wine glasses. It hit another glass, and shattered glass flew up out of the sink. Hit me in the wrist, resulting in an arterial bleed. Home alone, house sitting. Cell service not available due to a big service fail in the area. Managed to stumble my way off the acreage to the nearest road, and the driver was able to call for police and ambulance. Too close. Too damn close. I lost consciousness moments after hailing car for help. If she hadn't stopped her, holy shit, that's some Final Destination shit right there. OMG. Came here to share my story. Washing heavy stem martini glasses Christmas night. Husband accidentally knocked one off the counter and into the floor. A shard flew up and clean sliced my Achilles tendon. Required 2 surgeries with tendon graft. Felt so unbelievable, and then I read yours. You're lucky to be alive. I was on a road trip with my cousins in the 80s. One of them kept playing the same song over and over by rewinding the tape and playing it again. The song was Another One Bites the Dust. After 3 plays in a row, the driver pulls out the tape, says enough, and turned on the radio. Sure enough, that song was playing on the radio right then. That's when you just throw up your hands and let the car swerve into a ditch. And another one gone. And another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Not me, but a friend. He was a merchant mariner, lived here in Virginia Beach. He was always calling and texting, posting pics from around the world. One time he'd been out a while. We knew he was heading to Dubai, but didn't know where he'd be after that. 4 months go by. Nobody's heard from him. His neighbor, who I was friends with, gets married and goes to Thailand for his honeymoon. He texts me one day and said, "You aren't gonna believe this shit." He said he asked a local where a good local spot to eat was that tourists wouldn't be at. Guy takes him 30 minutes from the beach to some dive bar/restaurant with no sign, no clearly marked entrance. He said it looked so shady he was afraid he was about to be robbed and killed. He goes in, and it's a legitimate restaurant. He eats, drinks some beers, goes to the bathroom. Out walks my friend. So he took a pic and sent it to me to confirm he's okay. Imagine taking a flight several thousands of miles away, getting away from the tourist areas and going into a local dive bar, and running into your fucking next door neighbor you haven't seen in months. Shit's wild. Back in community college, people thought I was dead for half a day. I was supposed to meet a friend on campus to go eat. I was running late because my dad wanted me to do something before I left. I don't remember what. I get to campus and there's this fountain, the kind you can walk through or run about and avoid sprays of water. Around the whole fountain is a bunch of police tape. So I kind of think, oh okay, weird. Then I go to the building where my friends hang out. As I walk in behind one of them, I hear them telling everyone else I killed myself that morning. Turns out that a guy matching my physical description killed himself in the fountain. Between that and what he'd said to someone before doing it, along with my appalling lack of punctuality, everyone thought it was me. I always thought the Mark Twain quote of "the reports of my death are greatly exaggerated" was badass, but I had never thought I'd have the opportunity to use it. What was their reaction when they saw you? A couple hugged, sighs of relief, one going, "Oh shit," and running off. Seems they'd told the school paper it was me. The cops did a proper ID, fingerprints, and everything, so I never heard anything beyond my immediate group of friends. I know my fingerprints are on file, so I'm not super worried about others being identified as me. Before people ask, I was fingerprinted as part of a kidnap kit. They fingerprinted me, included a picture, and laminated it. I grew up a latchkey kid in the times of ID necklaces and bracelets, nearly getting killed by the same reckless/drunk driver twice in 3 years. The first time in 2001, I turned right before I completed the turn. A Pontiac Sunfire zipped by going 110 mph. The second near death was in the driveway in 2004. I was supposed to pick up my brother from work. This time I didn't. Instead, I hear a noise that could be heard a block away. The drunk driver smashed my car and turned it around 180 degrees. His BAC was 0.20. He tried running away and the neighbor tackled him. There happened to be a police officer nearby, too. Life comes at you fast. I played softball with the kid when I was 11 years old. Drunk drivers don't want their license while attempting to get medical treatment. The doctor's office ran a pharmacy report on my medical history and prescriptions. My terminally ill brother, whose full name was only 2 letters different from mine and we had the same address and phone number, was on a shitload of narcotics at the time, and through their search they pulled up his report and thought it was mine. They yelled at me and kicked me out of the office, saying I was just looking for drugs. I was mortified and very upset, and they wouldn't listen to me when I said it was my brother and not me. I ended up calling the pharmacy board and they called the doctor and explained that since we had the same address, phone number, and an extremely similar name, they had to search my social security number. The doctor felt horrible and gave me free treatment, and now he tells that story at conferences he goes to. It was crazy. Thank you for staying with us all this time. If you enjoyed the video, please support us by clicking the like button and subscribing to our channel. Your comments and suggestions are always welcome. See you in the next video.